about other lifestyle, because as I mentioned, it's really important to maintain a healthy lifestyle when you're trying to conceive and when you're taking supplements, because supplements aren't going to work on their own. So nutrition is super important when it comes to fertility. I think we underestimate the impact that nutrition has on our bodies and what we put into our mouth has on our bodies. So having a diet that is really full in good fruit and vegetables, I talk about eating the rainbow so that you're getting all the different coloured fruit and veg in, is vitally important. There is, despite the fact you might Google it, there is no necessarily one recognised specific fertility diet, although you will Google and everyone will tell you that there is. But again, where's the evidence? What evidence we do have, however, is that a Mediterranean-style diet can be beneficial. So if you think about Greece on a plate, lots of lovely fresh fruit, fresh vegetables, tomatoes, good protein sources, fish, good chicken. Red meat is okay, but just a couple of times a week, trying to keep that red meat low. Lots of kind of healthy fats, olive oil, salmon, all of those omegas. So just think of, a Greek island on a plate and you've kind of nailed it with a good Mediterranean diet. So that's kind of what we think is potentially the best type of diet to eat when you're trying to conceive. Really important to keep those refined carbohydrates low, and particularly if you have PCOS. So with PCOS, if you eat refined carbohydrates, then that can increase your glucose levels, and then you're going to have more insulin that you're not then going to be able to absorb, and you're going to have more insulin resistance. So keeping your refined carbohydrates low, generally, we now know that that's actually a way we all should be eating, as opposed to worrying too much about the fats. So just keeping those refined carbohydrates low. So when I say refined carbohydrates, I'm talking about your cakes, your biscuits, your crisps, your white potatoes, your white pasta, your white rice, all the things that we want to eat. Again, think differently about them. Try whole grains. Whole grains are really important actually as part of a Mediterranean diet as well. So getting your whole grains in are vitally important. I know we had a question about being vegan. So again, you could Google it and you could read about people saying, oh, if you want to conceive, you've got to be vegetarian, or you've got to be vegan, or you've got to be gluten-free, or you've got to be lactose-free. No, not unless you want to for other health reasons. So what is important is you should not stop different food groups, including, and this is a really popular one, dairy and wheat, unless you are intolerant to those generally, because they're an important part of your diet. Your dairy is an important part of getting the protein in. The wheat and the whole grains are an important part of your nutrition for fertility. So unless you have an intolerance, which of course, if you have an intolerance, then you should cut out those food groups. But if you've not been diagnosed with an intolerance, then you should continue to enjoy them as part of a healthy, balanced diet. And the same with vegan. If you wish to be vegan for personal reasons, because perhaps you don't like eating certain foods, or for moral reasons, then that's absolutely fine. That's your decision. Same with vegetarian, but you don't need to if you would normally eat those foods and enjoy them. So I hope that makes sense. Exercise. I'm just going to have a sip of my water. Please feel free to pop in some questions. So exercise, I often get asked this question a lot, and particularly around how much exercise, how much is too much, how much is too little. So if you've always exercised, then when you're trying to conceive, there's no reason why you can't continue with your normal exercise. And that's the same when you're going through an IVF cycle, but you might want to moderate it a little bit so that you're not doing too much during an IVF cycle, because you will have had lots of medication that is going to increase the size of the ovaries, and you're going to feel tired and all the rest of it. But today is not talking about IVF, so I'm not going to go into detail on that. But generally, just enjoying your normal exercise is absolutely fine. I always say to people, don't, and for men and women, don't start training to run a marathon when you're trying to conceive, if that's not something you would normally do, because you're going to deplete the body of all the really good nutrients that are important for trying to conceive, and also increase stress and all the rest of it, which may not be helpful for you during that time. So it's trying to be mindful. I often get questions about, and it's a valid question, absolutely valid question about if you jump on a trampoline, can you jog a baby out? Can you jump a baby out? If I go running, can I run a baby? Can I jog a baby out? No, you can't. Babies are incredibly resilient. If you find yourself early pregnant, you're not going to do any damage. If you enjoy your normal exercise, just don't start something different. And if you're tired, I always say, listen to your body, particularly in early pregnancy, because you're going to get really tired, and you don't want to be doing anything that is excessive. So if you're feeling tired, listen to your body and perhaps moderate or don't exercise and get some rest or some sleep instead. Okay. But yes, exercise is fine. You can exercise too much, and athletes, for example, often have to, like professional athletes, often have to stop exercising when they're trying to conceive or stop training because they exercise so much that they can actually stop ovulating and will then have very long, lengthy cycles. So there is a such thing as too much exercise. There's equally something, such thing as not enough exercise, and generally exercising 2 or 3 times a week as part of your healthy lifestyle is important, not just for fertility, but for general health too. So I would highly recommend that, particularly if you feel that you want to lose some weight, then that can be really beneficial with a healthy diet to lose weight to help optimize fertility going forward and a healthy pregnancy. Okay, smoking. Let's talk about that. So that is probably the most damaging thing that both men and women can do to egg and sperm health. So what we seem to think is that smoking can age your ovaries by 10 years. And what we definitely know is that smoking can destroy sperm for 3 months. So it takes men 3 months to generate and produce sperm from the very beginning to the very end. And therefore, any poor lifestyle choices can knock off sperm for that whole duration. So if anything, then stopping smoking is the one thing I'd want you to take away from today, is that it can be the most damaging to healthy egg and healthy sperm health. Now, also vaping, although we don't necessarily have the evidence to show that yet, we do feel that vaping can also impact on sperm health. So something to think about. And Michael, thank you for your question. You're absolutely right. I forgot to mention, I think I mentioned about, I tend to recommend that men don't, again, start, doing a training to be a marathon. So yes, too much exercise applies for men too. But thank you for jogging my memory, because the most important thing is the impact of cycling for men. Now, there's two reasons why cycling for men can damage sperm. One is temperature. So the testes are kept outside the body for a really good reason. We want to keep them as cool as possible. And actually outside the body, they're 2 degrees cooler. I think it's 2 degrees, 2 degrees cooler than body temperature. So that's for good spermogenesis, so that the creation of sperm. So if a man is cycling for long periods of time, and I'm not talking about like a half an hour commute to work, that's fine, but going out on a road bike or a mountain bike for 2 hours at a time, wearing lycra, it's going to keep the testes really hot and close to the body, and that can damage sperm. Also, the little seat as well can put pressure on the blood supply to the testes. So yeah, so there is a thing of too much exercise for men. So it's just thinking about what you're doing and moderating that. So going back to smoking, thank you, Jodie, about secondhand smoking. Yes, we do know that if you are a passive smoker and you are, inhaling smoke, then that can impact on your health too. So particularly if you're in that environment a lot, and that the impact then on sperm health. So yes, for sure. Okay, so alcohol. So the Department of Health recommend that women, when they're trying to conceive, don't drink any alcohol at all. And that is in part due to fetal alcohol syndrome that can occur if you find yourself pregnant and you don't know that you're pregnant. There is some research to show that drinking alcohol at particular times in a cycle may impact on fertility as well. So we don't generally recommend that when you're trying to conceive, you don't drink alcohol. I totally appreciate that if you're on a protracted fertility journey, then that can take the fun out of life in every single way. Is a glass of wine going to stop you getting pregnant? Honestly, probably not. But so it's kind of thinking of all of that in moderation and being mindful of it. But certainly the party line from the Department of Health is that you shouldn't be drinking alcohol when you're trying to conceive. For men, we're a little bit more unsure about this. What we do know for absolute sure is that binge drinking has the same effect as sperm and can knock the sperm off for that 3-month period. So binge drinking, where you're drinking a huge amount of alcohol and you potentially are really damaging the sperm. What we seem to feel is that for men, drinking a little bit in the week, spreading it over the week, and not drinking all in one go doesn't seem to have the same effect. Okay, so I hope that answers the question about alcohol. Toxins. So toxins are something that we're all tend to be a bit more concerned about these days. We're probably all aware of plastics and the impact on our body, and that's the same with fertility. So the plastic, and particularly BPA, which is we know is an endocrine disruptor, that disrupts the hormones in the body, so the fine working of the hormones. And we need those hormones are really important for good fertility. So by ingesting endocrine disruptors, then that can impact on your hormonal health. Other kind of toxins are things like parabens, which we can find in a lot of our beauty products, shampoos, conditioners, deodorant, skincare, makeup, lipstick, perfume, all of those things can impact. So I often say, do a little audit of the things that your beauty products, what are you using? Can you, next time you go and purchase them, because let's be kind of reasonable here. Nobody wants to throw anything out, especially with the current economy. We need to kind of be thinking sensibly. But next time you go shopping, could you choose something that is paraben free, doesn't have the toxins in? So hopefully you'll be able to find those. There's plenty of them. Deodorants are really bad because they've got a lot of this in. So again, it's looking for something that doesn't have the parabens in it and the toxins in it. Rock salt is a really good one for deodorants, and that's for men and women. So hopefully you can find some beauty products that are have less of the toxins in. That's one good way of reducing that. Then there's your kind of cleaning fluids that you might use at home. Wear gloves, use them in a ventilated area. Again, you can choose to buy organic and kind of more chemical-free ones as well if you want to.